Hello, and welcome to Conversations with Cully and Conlon. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. I'd like to thank our sponsors at Procyon Partners, one of the top 50 fastest growing companies in the nation. They specialize in employee benefits, wealth management, and retirement planning. President Sean Rabinowitz, proud supporter of our podcast network, and we love him very much. Green Street Trust International, owned and operated by Rennell Jump, and I am now allowed to say Jake Voskuhl, UConn legendary men's basketball player. They specialize in tax plans for businesses large and small. They also offer other financial services, as I'm supposed to say now. You can get a free consultation by going to their website, www.greenstreettrust.com. Pete Finch and the Finch Law Firm is in Bridgeport, Connecticut. If you've suffered any type of personal injury, a slip and fall, a construction beam fell on you at a site, your mother-in-law ran you over with her car, your wife decided to stab you, the Finch firm is for you. Pete has won legal battles all across the state of Connecticut, and he will go to war to get every dollar you deserve in compensation. You just have to remember, in a pinch, call Finch, or go to his website, thefinchfirm.com, or watch many of his incredible advertisements, billboards, and marketing material. You name it, Pete's got it. Dynamic Human Performance is owned and operated by UConn legendary running back Andre Dixon. He trains boys and girls of all ages, all sports. He has a boot camp program, 7 days a week, 6 a.m. You want to get in shape, you go to Andre. He's got an athletic development program, which is also training boys and girls in the sport of their choice from the ground up, developing them, helping them to reach their full potential, be the best they can possibly be. Andre has sent boys and girls to college on scholarship for all different types of sports. He has a 5,000 square foot state-of-the-art facility in Hartford, Connecticut. To work with the best, go to www.dynamichumanperformance.com. Down south, we have Julius Williams and the Trench Mob. We had a record audience last night for the Trench Mob show. The Trench Mob is in Decatur, Georgia. They train offensive and defensive linemen. They compete in 5v5 tournaments all across the country, and they were undefeated this past season. They go to college showcase camps as well, and proud to say every camp they attended, a member of the Trench Mob was offered a full scholarship. And Julius Williams, who runs it, Julius was going over their schedule for this upcoming season, and good God, they are going to be going nonstop from basically April until July. So if you want to get better, if you want to compete against the best across the country, if you want a chance to get a scholarship right now, Julius has every member of his 2026 class signed to a full scholarship somewhere, besides two kids. And he said that he is going to work day and night, 24 hours a day, to make sure that they get something. Julius has sent kids to schools like Florida, Florida State, Miami, Tennessee, Clemson, Georgia, Alabama, just to name a few. But he has connections everywhere in the country. And he's going to be coming up north soon to Rutgers as well. He's got a player there, and Syracuse. So Julius has pins all across the country. To work with the best, go to www.battleofthetrenches.com. James Whitfield of Luther James Insurance is one of our newest sponsors. James has dedicated himself to the art of financial planning for the last 3 years. He also specializes in insurance policies, mainly life insurance. James will make you a ton of money and make it tax-free. He also does a lot with retirement planning. He understands the stress that comes with retirement. How much money am I going to need? How many years am I going to live for? Do I have enough to last? Those are all questions James can answer for you because fear of the unknown is real. You can go to his website. It's lutherjamesinsurance.com, and you can get a free quote from him as well. And now for the lady of the hour, UConn women's legendary basketball player Maria Conlon and current Western Connecticut State University head coach. It's a pleasure to see you.
How are you?
I am great.
It's always quite the intro. Like, I love hearing
Well,
what everybody is doing. It's nice. It's cool.
Makes
me happy.
I have to dramatize it a little bit and throw my entertainment factor in there since I am the best podcast host in the universe.
That's right.
So your prediction turned out to be pretty accurate. You
almost
had said
right. They didn't end up stealing that game. They almost did. 2 points.
No, but I mean, you said back in, I believe, April that it was going to be Las Vegas or Minnesota,
yes.
and you nailed it. I don't think I mean, everyone's been talking about if Napheesa Collier got hurt, if Minnesota would have ended up winning that series. Phoenix just I don't know, they seem to get hot during the playoffs. Do you think Minnesota would have made a difference that last game if she was healthy and the coach didn't get suspended?
Yeah, I mean, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, Fish and Asia are, 1-2 in the league in terms of talent, but more importantly, like just what they provide to their teammates in terms of confidence and opportunities. I think, you take the best player on a team off the team, you definitely become a little bit easier to beat. So, yeah, I mean, maybe next year we'll see a Las Vegas, Minnesota final. I think a lot of people were looking forward to that. I know I was. I was disappointed in, the final series between Las Vegas and Phoenix.
Yeah.
I would have rather seen Indiana just play Las Vegas another couple of games. But
I know, right? It was a full sweep.
Yeah, I mean, Las Vegas just completely dismantled everything that they tried to do. They matched the physicality. Becky Hammond outcoached them. I mean, literally across the board, there was literally not one thing that I could say that I thought Phoenix did better than Las Vegas. So
that was one of the questions. Sorry to cut you off. That had come in because Dawn Staley had come out and said that she doesn't expect a female coach in the NBA anytime soon. Becky Hammond has experience in the NBA. She was a phenomenal player, and she just won a WNBA title. Do you think she could possibly get an interview or consideration for an NBA job, or do you think that's a few years away from happening before a woman would get hired?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you had to take a female coach right now that does have some NBA obviously experience, it would be Becky. I think, the crazy part is that it's almost like we've gone a little bit backwards in the WNBA. What I mean by that is we're hiring more male head coaches than women. So I think the jump for women to the NBA, we're just kind of like increasing that gap of when we're going to get there, I think. Not that I don't think that she could garner the respect of NBA players. I know that she had a great experience with the San Antonio Spurs and Greg Popovich and his crew.
Yeah.
And she was there some of the years that they were really good towards the end. So, I think that a lot of NBA players definitely have a lot more respect for women's sports and women coaches. But again, it's like, these positions are so volatile. It's like, why would you even want it?
Yeah, you're really on a short leash.
You got a good thing going where you are. You're making good money. You like what you're doing. I mean, her players love her. she's so likable. She's always been likable, like likable as a
Yeah,
player.
she seems very charismatic.
I've met her a
And
few times over the years. She couldn't be any nicer. So I've been saying this all year. I think she's the best head coach in the WNBA, hands down. I think that if you're a player, she's a player's coach, like someone that you
yes,
want to play for. So I think she'll continue to do big things there. But yeah, kudos to them. I think Asia Wilson was an absolute
she
monster
was a
all
force.
series as predicted. She just made big play after big play, every big rebound, every big shot, every big defensive stop. She
Yeah,
just completely tore it up. So, I'm happy for her. Because she's been such a great advocate for the WNBA and a great role model out there. So, if I would have loved to seen Minnesota against them and see how that would have played out, but I'm happy for Las Vegas. They struggled last year with some injuries, etc. And it was good to see them back on top.
now they said I thought I read that Las Vegas could be a dynasty, so to speak, in the WNBA. Have they didn't win the championship last year, but have they won recently?
Yeah, they won the 2 years before that.
The 2
So
years before that. That's okay. That's what I
yeah,
thought.
yep. So New York won last
New
year,
York won it
obviously.
last year. Yes.
But yeah, I think they've won the last 3 out of 4. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, the thing about them is obviously like Asia is still pretty young, in a from a basketball sense, right? So they've got her. They'll keep her. They'll retain her. They had brought in Jewel Lloyd this year from Seattle, which was a really good
Seattle.
get for them.
Yep.
I think that helped with a couple of the pieces that they lost. But they do have some aging superstars in there, and Chelsea Gray and a couple of the others that are more like role players when you compare them to Asia. But they are getting up there in age. They've been plagued a little bit with injuries. So I think it's a matter of some pieces that they're going to have to pick up over the next couple of years in order to, a dynasty. I don't know if like we're there yet, but
Right.
3 out of 4 definitely puts you in the conversation. They've taken care of business and they've shown that they can win and battle back from slow starts, both in the season and in a series.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the veteran pedigree that they have both on the floor and on the bench, right? And what I mean by that is like Becky Hammond knows how to win. She knows how to coach her players to win. And she's got players that are on the court that have been there before and know how to do it. And there's just something about the experience of already winning championships that just gives you a different chip on your shoulder when you get into that postseason stuff. And you see that across sports all the time, right? Like, the Chiefs started off like 0-2, and
Yep.
everybody
And
was
they
kind of writing
fired
them
back.
off. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Andy Reid is an amazing coach. Like Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. They have the best tight end. Like they're going to figure it out. And I think that, the consistent theme that you see across all those successful teams is that like people that just know how to get it done, don't pay attention to all the noise that they experience, and they win when they need to. So that's what Las Vegas did.
That's a great example with the Chiefs. They've fired back and now we're 3-3. And Vegas, if I recall, at the All-Star break, they were 4th.
I think they
I
were
believe.
they were the 4th or 5th. They were
They were,
5th
yeah.
at one point.
Yeah.
During
So
the
they really
season.
battled back.
Yeah, I think that the All-Star break gave them a little bit of time to kind of regroup. People get re-energized. They fought a lot of injuries in the first half of the season. But then, they were the hottest team in the back half, right? So,
Yes.
they took care of business when they needed to get the seeding that they needed to get. And they made it happen. So, yeah, it's exciting to see when stuff like that plays out the way it does. So,
Somebody asked, are they relatively a newer team? They've been around like 5 years or so.
yeah, I want to say it's probably not. It's a little bit more than 5 now, maybe 6 or 7.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, they were one of those first expansion teams that came out. So yeah, I mean, they're not an original franchise.
Right.
You know, and I remember when they first announced it, I was like, man, how's that going to work? Like a WNBA team in Vegas, right? Like, but it works. I mean, they get great crowds.
That's what I was going to say. Their fan base is
The
rabid.
city embraced it. Well, I mean, you got so many people going through there on a weekly basis. It's like, all right, if I want to take a break from the blackjack table for a couple of hours, let me go check out a WNBA game, right? So, I mean, it's an entertainment city at heart. So, yeah, they've really thrived there, and they do. I mean, they do a lot of basketball stuff in Vegas, right? They do the NBA preseason. You know, they do a bunch of tournaments there, so it is a city that's always kind of, you know, done well from an entertainment perspective where sports are concerned. So, but yeah, they have not been around, not even for a decade yet. So, definitely on the newer side.
And Asia Wilson really just put the team on her back, and she had, I mean, I don't know the history of the league, but she had to have had one of the best finals performances I've seen. I mean, she just was
I mean, statistically, yeah, like it was just across the board. I mean, you know, even when you look at, you know, MVP of the league, MVP of the finals, defensive player of the year,
defensive player of the year.
Like, you know, I mean, it was just crazy. And listen, like she deserves all of it. You know, I was really big on Collier. I thought that from start to finish all year, she made such an impact for her team that I figured it would be between her and Asia for MVP. And honestly, I would have been good either way. But yeah, I mean, she's had an amazing career so far. And like I said, she's still pretty young, you know, from a basketball standpoint. So, you know, we got a bunch of years left of watching her play. And she's like, you know, the cool part about her is that she's a post player, but she doesn't play like largely above the rim. She's not like 6'8". So from a maintenance, like body perspective, I think she can withstand more years with her skill level than most can. So I think she's going to be around for a while.
Exactly. There's less wear and tear on your body when you're not that size. So the elephant in the room, obviously, is again, several people wanted to know your thoughts of when Commissioner Cathy Engelbert came out to present the MVP award, the championship award, and she got booed off the court. It looked like she could not get to that tunnel fast enough if her hair was on fire. And people wanted to know your thoughts on that.
You know, I think
I mean, she's in a tough position. She's damned if she does, damned if she doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like I'm never a supporter of anyone being publicly shamed or booed, right? And you know, fans are entitled to feel and do what they want. They always have been, right?
To an extent, yes.
Yeah, I mean, you know, would I have done it in public? Probably not. You know, I think that you got a lot of people in the basketball world that are quietly booing her, just because of some of her statements and the way she's handled certain situations. But, you know, I would be shocked if she's not removed at some point over the next couple of months. You know, obviously, I think that they'll wait till the deadline, which is coming up.
October 31st, yep.
Of the lockout to make, you know, you can't throw a new president there right now in the middle of these negotiations. So my assumption would be if they're going to make a change, which I think they will and they should, it'll happen after that deadline date, because there'd be too much for a new person coming in to have to jump into at this point. So I think she's still got a couple more paychecks that she'll get. But yeah, I think, and then they came out with, I don't know if you saw, I finally the other day, you know, everybody's been talking about, you know, this agreement and what the players want. And, but I've never seen any numbers. And I finally saw them the other day. I don't know if you did, but, you know, the players are proposing a minimum max contract of, it was like 250,000 with a max veteran of like 280. and then the max player contract being like 800,000. So
Wow.
yeah, and I hadn't seen those numbers. Like everybody's been, talking about it and percentages and all that. I don't know what that percentage would equal of the overall revenue if it were to play out like that. But I did think that was aggressive. I was shocked to see that number, to be honest, because it's basically tripling that max contract. And I just, without seeing the numbers and the balance sheet, I just wonder how the league will be able to facilitate that. And like, listen, it's like in sales, like you come in with your high number and you hope to land somewhere in the middle, maybe. But if that's a dead stop for the players, I don't see how they can come to an agreement.
It's not realistic. No.
So,
I
so
had
that's
read
concerning, I think, a little bit, right, for the WNBA and for the fans, etc. But yeah, I was surprised to see those numbers the other day.
Well, it's very concerning, and I've read several articles about it, and I had read actually 300,000 was going to be either the average or the minimum they were trying to get it up to. And the players that are already under contract would get their contract bumped up. And the maximum was like what you said. But there is so much. I read the article. There's so much that has to go on that if this lockout goes for an extended period, it'll end up delaying the start of next year, because there's a record. I didn't know this. There's a record 140 WNBA free agents this year. And a lot of them opted out of their contracts because of the new CBA. They anticipated having a chance to make more money. So, like, even the Aces, they have one player under contract going into 2026. So there's 140 free agents. Then you have Portland and Toronto coming into the league. So they have to do free agency so the teams can put their teams together. Then they have to do the expansion draft after that. And then, from there, you have the WNBA draft and the preseason and whatnot. The other issue they mentioned was a lot of the players now, even if they don't play in Unrivaled or that other league or overseas, the teams have pretty good facilities and they'll stay and train. And now if there's a lockout, they won't be able to do that. They won't have access to any facilities. So it's going to really throw things off. And Engelbert, I was curious, I know she's the commissioner president. Is her contract, is it typically year to year? Or did you know if she had a multi-year deal, or do you think she would just end up being removed or fired?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a certain amount of years that they sign on in the beginning. And I don't know if that's guaranteed which way, right? Like, you guys have to guarantee this, or I'll guarantee I'll stay. But I think that, if you're the WNBA, you're kind of at the point right now where even if you have to like buy out her contract to get her out of there and get the players somebody different, you probably would. So I don't even know if that really comes into play. But yeah, I'm not sure how the president's contract is structured.
But they definitely don't want to negotiate with her, it seems.
No, I mean, like I said, I think she'll keep her job through this deadline. I think she has to, because it's just, it's 2 weeks away, and there's just too much that a new person would have to be brought up to speed on. And by the way, like, that's a hard position to put someone in. Like if I was interviewing to be the new president, I'd be like, listen, I'll start November 1st, right? I'll start November 2nd, but like, I don't want to be thrown into that, ring of fire either. So, Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. It'll be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of weeks. But like I said, I was really shocked at some of the proposed numbers. Um,
Yeah,
it's also too like the hard part is, right? Like they try to do it in conjunction with, the NCAA Final Four, and then but like,
exactly.
with the season only being like 5-6 months, there's not as in a shortened amount of games. Great for the players, right? Because it's not like you're playing 100 games. However, if you're only playing 50, 40, 50 games, it's only 40, 50 games of ticket revenue that you're getting too, right? So like
Exactly.
at some point, it's like a lot of pressure on a condensed professional season to come up with these agreements, even from an advertising and a TV perspective. Like I know they signed a huge deal. But it's not like, again, it's not like the NBA, which is like
No.
8 or 9 months with, a gazillion games. So, it'll be interesting to see how they can crunch these numbers down and make it work.
Yeah, because there's 44 games right now. They're talking about moving to 50 because of the two new expansion teams. And I think they said this is the most WNBA teams they've had since 2002, I believe. So they are going to try to expand the games, but you're still talking, like you said, it's only 25 home games. So
Yep.
that's not a ton of revenue coming in.
Yep.
There was a question that came in. Do you think that NBA Commissioner Adam Silver could possibly get involved in these negotiations, or do you think he'll stay out of it?
Um, it's a good question. I think, it, you're screwed if you do, you're screwed if you don't, right? Like it's, obviously he has the experience with this type of stuff. So I think that, the WNBA president and other people would be foolish to not seek some counsel on some different moves and stuff that they make. But at the same time, um, the NBA is the NBA. The WNBA is the WNBA. So I think that one of the mistakes that we've made over the years, and we had to in the beginning, was that huge
Said
reliance
that.
on the NBA as a whole,
Yeah.
and not really having, the identity, the investors, et cetera, that made it very separate. But I wouldn't be surprised if he is a part of it. I mean, not that he really has a say, um, necessarily in terms of how that goes, but I wouldn't be surprised if he got involved, but
Yeah.
also be surprised if he didn't.
Yeah, I could see him being someone that could at least get an olive branch and get them back to the table and at least start talking again. Because I
Yep.
mean, there's been radio silence. Your friend Frank wanted me to ask, since the WNBA over the last 25 years technically has not been profitable, should the owners be forced to pay now, because the last two seasons have been profitable, the numbers that the players want? He thinks that the owners have a right to make their losses back before they start doling out money.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't necessarily agree with the number that I saw the other day,
Right,
but I
right.
but I do agree that the players need to be paid more.
Absolutely.
So what that number is, I don't know without like really
Seeing the
seeing
books.
exactly what
Right.
all the numbers are that are coming in, because, I mean, yes, it hasn't been hugely profitable over the years, but in terms of like, if we look historically on how leagues have grown and then become profitable, like if you were an owner or you were an investor in this league when it first started, if you didn't look at it as at least a 30-year investment, then you probably were foolish, right? Like,
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a long-term investment. So, and we're right up on that. So I think it's everybody's talking about how long they haven't been profitable. Everybody forgets that every professional league that's ever opened or started took over 2 decades to be profitable. So it's not like they're behind the curve in terms of their profitability in that timeline. But I think it's just way more publicized now. Like, think
That's
about it. Like,
exactly it.
if you go back 30 years from now, or like, the start of the NBA or the start of the MLB, like, people didn't have access to the type of information that they do now in regards to leagues. So I don't think anything's really different than it ever has been. It's just now people have way more access to the information and the people that are making decisions.
And you're right. The NBA actually wasn't profitable for the first 35 to 40 years, allegedly. Yep. It wasn't until Bird and Magic came in that they started to turn a profit and get better television deals. Yep. So, like you said, the time frame for the league, I mean, they're on schedule. Yeah. And they broke records this year with attendance and ratings, and the new TV deal is very good. They're going to get $200 million a year for the next 11 years. And, there's going to be expansion teams added for until 2030, I believe. So the other thing that the WNBA players point out is Portland and Toronto paid over $250 million for their franchises. So to say that it's not profitable is probably not accurate. These franchises have value if people are willing to pay that much for them. It's not like it's chump change.
Yeah, and I actually think that I read somewhere that financial analysts that were actually looking at all of this stuff thought that 250 was low.
It was on the low end. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, when we're talking about profitability, I mean, again, if you go back 30, 40 years ago, you maybe $2 million was profitable, right? We don't live in that world now. So the numbers that you have to hit are astronomically bigger in order to, to see that in the green. But I think people just have to be patient. I think, and that includes the players to some extent, right? Like, I mean, they're making a lot more than, people were 20 years ago or 10 years ago. And nobody was making anything 35 years ago.
So, they were having to play overseas.
Yeah. So, I think it's just, it's a matter of they're not off the curve. They're just like everybody else, but there's just way more access to information and there's way more stuff that people know about. So, it's not out of the realm. So Frank, I guess my answer to Frank would be, do I think that they should have to pay $800,000 a year right now when they've only been paying, let's call it 300? No, right. But they should be paying more than 300. I mean, if you just look at the TV deal alone of $200 million a year, there should be a bigger percentage of that pie. What that is, I don't know without seeing all the numbers, but it should be more than what they're getting now.
Yeah, and 9% of the revenue split is the lowest of any professional league by far. And I think their proposal was 20 to 25%. And I mean, I think that's reasonable. I think they've earned that. And like you said, this is a player-driven league. I mean, all leagues are, but you've seen the new stars, the new rookies that have come in that have transformed this league and the popularity of it. So I definitely think they deserve their flowers and they deserve to be paid accordingly.
Yeah, and not only that, but like it's not going to slow down. I mean,
no.
The Paige Beckers and the Caitlin Clarks and the AZ Fudds and the Juju Watkins, like all these players, right? They're just creating more and more excitement around the game. And, you have to look at it a little bit differently as a person who likes sports, right? So what's happening right now is these kids that are playing now are motivating generations and generations after them. And I know this because I'm out there. I have a daughter who plays. There are so many more kids playing women's basketball than there ever has been.
Yes,
ever.
100%.
Right? So with that, what comes with that? Okay, well then, these young players are going to be going to more college games. They're going to be going to more WNBA games. They're going to be buying more merch. They're going to be, watching it more. When the population as a whole is playing the sport more, it affects it in so many different ways. Your families are bringing you to games. Like this snowball that started at the top of the hill that's rolling down is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I don't think it's slowing down anytime soon. I think
it's all good. It's all positive.
No, it's great. I mean, listen, it's a lot harder now. And what I mean by that is, like, if you're a student athlete, and I see this even at the D3 level coaching, right? We're able to get kids now that maybe 10 years ago would be at the D2 or the D1 level, right? Because the pool of kids is so much bigger. Kids are, they got trainers all over the place. The kids are more skilled. They're more talented. Now, I still will argue that they don't know the game like players past, right? Because they don't play it the same way. They're being trained on skills constantly instead of actually like learning how to like cut and like do all this other stuff, which just creates more work for us when they get to college. But we had our first official practice yesterday, and we have 9 new kids, 7 freshmen, right?
Correct.
And I have this one freshman who like is so athletic and like is so strong. She can get to the rim, like get by anybody. She's crazy good on defense. But then when I tell her to run the offense and say like, okay, you got to read, where am I supposed to go? Well, I can't tell you that. It's going to depend on what your defender does and what your teammate's defender does. And like, we're trying over the last, because we've had some non-traditional practices over the last week and a half. We're allowed 8 before the official start date of yesterday. But like making them think about like just playing basketball, it's like, it reminds me of the movie The Little Giants when the guy says we're going to run the annexation
of Puerto Rico.
And it's like their heads are ready to explode, man. It's wild, but like they're so skilled.
Yes.
They just don't know how to piece it together to actually play the game, which, if you asked me like 3 years ago, that would have like really frustrated me. Like, how do these kids, but now I know, right? Like
now
my expectation, I'm expecting that if you come in here as a freshman to play for me, I'm going to have to teach you how to play the game, right? You might be really, really skilled and be able to do all these different things that kids 20 years ago couldn't, but how do you apply that to the sport? So, I mean, again, it's just, the sport is so flooded with talent right now, and that's such a great thing. It's an exciting thing, but that's just going to help in every other avenue. And getting back to the original conversation of like the growth of the WNBA, like I don't think they're going to have any problems having people invest in the league, right? No. I mean, look at Unrivaled. How easy it was for them to raise the money and get the sponsors.
It was unbelievable.
It was crazy. But if you're smart and you're watching this, you see what a monster machine, even more than the NBA, right? Because we also have to remember, like, women are traditionally very loyal, right? They're loyal to their sports. They're loyal to their teams. Not that guys aren't, but like, I look at my dad, for example, and my dad. I call him, he's a professional bandwagoner. So like, whoever's like good this year in the NFL, that's his favorite team this year, right? Like men tend to do that, like way more than women.
Yes, yes. Men are fair weather fans.
Like, I have a friend who's a Jets fan, and I've known her now for like 15 years, and I still can't wrap my head around like, how are you still a Jets fan? And she's like, what do you mean? I'm a Jets fan.
Yeah,
like,
that's what
this is it. Like, I'm gonna bleed green. Like, okay. Like, they're awful. They're always awful. I mean, they're better this year, but like, actually, they're really not. But the Giants are a little bit better this year. But like, the loyalty around women's sports is just it's just a different layer. And I think if you're smart, you know that, right? If you're savvy in business, like, women make the best customers usually. They show more empathy. They show more loyalty. So I think, I don't think they're going to have an issue long term. Getting the revenue that they need.
And Frank had wanted to know your thoughts. Do you believe that women support the WNBA, their fan base? would you say? I mean, if you had to put a percentage on it, as far as men versus women, I mean, I think it's more family oriented than anything. But Frank's biggest thing is he doesn't think enough women support it.
I would ask Frank if he's ever. Where's Frank from? Is he
He's
from
from,
Connecticut?
he's from my town, yeah. No,
Oh, he's from New York.
Yeah.
Like, go watch a Liberty game.
Yes.
Like,
I told him that.
You know, I would say if you looked into the crowd, it's probably like 70% women.
Yeah,
right.
That's what I thought.
Moms bringing their kids, like friends going wherever. Like, you go to a UConn women's basketball game, right? Not as bad as it used to be. They have a great student section now, but outside of that, it's women and old people, right? Like,
Yeah.
But I mean, great. I don't care. Like, we never cared. There's butts in the seats. There's people cheering. Like, they're loyal fans.
Oh my God, they would die for you. Yeah.
It's just the way that it is. And I'm not saying that men don't watch UConn women's games, because there's a lot of guys out there that love UConn women's basketball. But I think, you know, everybody always says that, like, women don't support women enough. I think they do. Maybe not publicly in a way where sometimes women should show up for each other. I think we're getting a lot better at it as a whole and as a market. But, you know, I mean, I'd be more inclined to support a female athlete than a male athlete. That's just me. Like, I just would, you know. And you have to remember too, like, and I've said this before, is if you have children and one of them is a girl, like, and they are really, really into sports and you're a dad, are you mad about it? No, like, you're excited, right? Like,
thrilled.
Would you rather be at a dance recital or at a basketball game? I'll say basketball game 100 out of 100 times, right? Like, just for me, like, and I've been to dance recitals. My daughter did that for like 5-6 years. And while the recitals are great, they're beautiful. My cousin actually owns the place where she went to. It's amazing. But if you look at the audience of a dance recital and you look at all the dads that are there, they're either half asleep on their phone watching a sport, right? Or they're bored out of their minds.
Yeah.
But you go to a high school basketball game of a guy whose daughter plays on the team, right? I just experienced this last weekend for Layla's fall league games. They are like front and center, leaning, screaming, cheering, doing like, it's crazy. Yeah. So, you know, I think it's like, it's cool because I think like we've kind of shifted. We're like, back in the day, if you were a woman, like, you were a cheerleader or you were this and like blah, blah, blah. Like, I think it's great that there's a platform for these young ladies to do something that they love that their dads could be excited about too, right? Like, it's just,
they love it. Yeah. I mean, your dad loves it for sure.
Yeah. I mean, my dad would definitely rather be at a basketball game than a dance recital, right? So, and that's not a hit on any of the dancers out there.
No, of course not. No.
Some of that stuff is like crazy talent and very entertaining. But, you know, from a grand scheme of things, it's like, you know, and again, it's like, even if you look at something like that, like, so you take your daughter to dance for like 7 months.
And it's expensive too.
And you get to watch them once.
For the one recital. Yes. That's right.
Right? Like, you know, with sports, it's like, okay, we're training a game. Train, game. So there's something exciting about that. I think people will still continue to embrace it. And I think it's going to be all positive.
So what is your final prediction for the CBA agreement? Do you think it's drawn out for months? Do you think that somebody new comes in and they can get an agreement by December, by Christmas? Or do you think this is going to be a war of attrition?
I'm going to tell you what I hope, and then I'm going to tell you what I think will probably happen. I hope they can come to some agreement on the 31st, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think that we'll see this drag out a couple months more. It just doesn't seem like there's enough pressure on.
It seems like they're so far apart.
Yeah, to make a good enough change that the players will be happy with. Because here's the thing too, it's like, if you're asking for this, right? And then you accept something like a couple $100,000 less, like, it also makes you look
It's perception.
bad.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I think I think everybody's backed themselves in a really hard corner right now. And there's a lot of people paying attention to it because of the access to information. So I think both sides have to be really careful of how this plays out. And I hope they can come to that agreement before the new year. I would like to say that they'll get there before the new year because
I think they have to.
because once you get into January through March and everybody's paying attention to college sports, like you're right there. Like to your point, you got to have an expansion draft. You have to have the free agency stuff happen. Like there's just way too much stuff that needs to happen before April of next year when the draft would be. They're like you're gonna run out of time.
And last question, Dave. Dave wants to know, what do you think will happen first? The ending of the government shutdown or the CBA for the NBA gets agreed upon?
Government shutdown, no doubt.
Yeah,
who asked that? Schumann?
Yeah, Dave's an asshole. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, definitely the government. I think the government shutdown will happen. We'll definitely go for it. I hope, anyways. Geez, we got bigger problems if it doesn't.
And Frank is doing a few NIL deals. If you have anyone who you want on an NIL deal, he's been doling out some money for the pizzeria, his restaurant, and he said he would do that for one of your girls if you have someone who you want. Just let me know. He's getting into it now. It's kind of funny.
I love
He's doing it for some of the local schools.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we could use all the help we could get over there. So
yeah, I'll have him either do that or I'll have him make a donation or something.
Yeah, that'd be great.
He said he would do that for you.
That'd be awesome.
I just have to mention Ned Von Young, Fresh Fold Laundry Company down in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. High-end laundry service. You book online. You put your laundry out in a clear plastic bag. They pick it up, wash, dry, fold it for you in 48 hours time. They have an expedited service as well. You can have an online subscription, weekly or bi-weekly. They now offer a pickup and delivery service, so you can have your laundry done without even leaving your house. They also have deals for college students in the area. Go to his website. It is myfreshfold-laundry.com. For Maria Conlon, UConn legend, head coach, Western Connecticut State University, teaching the world about basketball. I'm Steve Cully, best podcast host in the universe. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges, throw them right back at life.